Hello and welcome to our next episode of Theme Park History. Today we explore something a little different from roller coasters, but some may say this is the ultimate complement to a coaster. Of course, it's one of the theme park's extreme rides, and that being a drop tower. Let's not forget that some parks have junior towers and even intermediate towers, but most drop or even shock towers are pretty extreme. More importantly, when and where did it all begin? Well, today I'm going to give you some answers. And of course, you are welcome to listen, enjoy, and explore the idea further on the basis of your needs. So let's not waste any time and refer back to some words from the title of the episode. Parachutes. Who on this planet would have ever imagined that drop towers evolved from them? Well, let's jump into the time machine and whip back into 1939. Not just 1939, but Brooklyn, New York State, at the New York World Fair to a ride called Parachute Jump. Following that, as of 1941, this ride was moved into Coney Island. That name, Coney Island, keeps popping up in my research. Let's not get distracted from the point of the episode worshipping the god of all theme parks, lol. Yes, this is where it all began, despite the fact the actual original ideas were evolved from where. Actually, the idea came from wooden parachute drops used for military training in the Soviet Union. The Soviets used these mechanisms in the 1920s. It actually reached America in the 1930s. By the way, it's not unusual for technology to be used by military before it meets the general public. From being wooden and not particularly safe, the Americans revolutionized this structure. It went from wood to steel, from being completely freefall to having a suspended drop point and shock absorbers for landing. Importantly, the shock absorbers were part of the ride industry that they were used in. Not only was falling made comfortable, but mini gondolas were becoming present, meaning more than one person could parachute at one time, meaning the actual parachute had to be adjusted to support the weight of +1. This was all before it got commercialized in 1939. Anyway, back to New York World Fair. As of 1938, it is claimed that International Parachute Jump Incorporated were to be the operators of the 1939 implementation of this new iconic ride. There are also claims a man called Norman Kaufman was the last operator of Parachute Jump. But as of 2003, Norman Kaufman denied this. Norman also highlighted that there were accusations of accidents on the parachute jump after it had ceased operating. The ride was situated in an area called Steeplechase Park. Within Steeplechase Park was a go-kart track run by the Gatto brothers. Norman claimed the only accident in Steeplechase Park was at this go-kart track. So, with some names and numbers established, how about we try and understand how the ride worked? The ride was roughly 76 meters tall, which had an extension of a 12-foot flagpole during its years at the New York World Fair. Having previously explained that the ride operated at 2 locations, and actually it was possibly 3 in New York. It's understandable that this ride originally was not a permanent structure. Some may consider it a showman's ride. However, it now stands in the old Steeplechase Park as a relic and memoir to theme park rides. Within it, the operations of the ride were managed by the Tillyu family up to 1964, who financed and directed maintenance of this immense expense to look after Parachute Jump. The ride never had a safety mishap despite the difficulty and cost to maintain it. The Tillyu family did a great job. There have been talks to recommission the Parachute Jump, but it requires specialist historical recovery and a maintenance package to go with it, due to its now permanent fixture in Coney Island, its appearance and stability has been restored on several occasions, despite protest to remove it from the site during the years. The ride was designed with a hexagonal base and a tapered thick steel structure, having relevant intersections which were spliced and gusseted with steel plates. When moved to Coney Island, the ride was given concrete footing with 12 timber piles for stability. So let's get to the fun bit. Parachute Jump had 12 steel arms with a 45-foot walkway. This is where a couple of riders could get into a canvas upholstered gondola. Everyone has seen a parachute drop, right? I need not digest how the ins and outs of how the gondola reacted with gravity, but I would like to give another emphasis on the shock absorbers that broke the fall as the gondola landed. As of this present day, the ride is defunct and has been since 1964. However, it is used as an icon structure and is also host to light packages during festive events. So let's move on to the next part, which is talking about the invention of the modern freefall or drop tower. The reason I mentioned two is because there is a subtle difference. Actually, the freefall tower comes first. If you type into Google first drop tower, it gives you different information to typing in first freefall tower. I've always considered them the same, but for clarity, I'm going to explain a little bit just here. A freefall tower is a straight drop. It actually incorporates elements of the brachistochrone curve, meaning it has more kinetic potential than an actual drop tower. Although within the freefall tower design, the brachistochrone curve is cut short before it projects upwards, meaning its kinetic energy gets prevented. Considering the construction and ride style of freefall and drop towers, I would guess this is done to prevent any damaging G-forces. So let's take a look at the first known freefall towers. These first inventions were from the mighty Intamin, or they might not have been so mighty then, as the first two made were sold and operated in Six Flags way back in 1982. Considered the first of their type since Parachute Jump, these were labelled the first freefall towers, with Texas having Texas Cliffhanger and Magic Mountain having Freefall. My question is, are these not a new ride type invention, not a true freefall, more so a drop tower? If we look at more modern drop or shock towers like Detonator at Thorpe Park or Cliffhanger at Flamingo Land, these are different engineering structures. The gondola surrounds the drop, meaning there can be many more riders. The drop or shot is purely vertical. Is this the true representation of Parachute Jump? You know what, folks? That is for you to decide. That's all for today. See you soon.